Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at MS Dynamics World. On this episode, we are talking about the rise of embedded payments in Dynamics ERP systems, what it's all about, why it can be challenging, and the business advantages that it can give to an organization. My guests are Mary Miller and Sam Johnson of PayTrace, the sponsor of this episode. Mary and Sam explain how the world of B2B payments has evolved and why ERP has now become such an important part of the discussion for organizations that perhaps began their journey with payments focused on standalone capabilities. We also discuss how the Dynamics ERP channel is adapting to the changing landscape from an implementation and solution design perspective, and how partners and customers are discussing their payment requirements in the context of business value. Okay, I'm here with Mary Miller and Sam Johnson of PayTrace. Hi, Mary. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jason.
Why don't we start with some introductions for our listeners? I think people might recognize you, Mary. It's great to have you back. Welcome.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, it's like being at home. You know, the Dynamics community of partners and end users and other providers in the space is just, part of my lifelong DNA. I think, I've been in the channel for a long time. I actually began years ago as a GP user. I've lived in that world, and I've also been on the accounting provider side, accounting service provider, and about the last 10 years on the ISV side. And at PayTrace, I'm the director of marketing, and we're really excited about everything that we're seeing in the B2B payment space. So looking forward to having the conversation with you today.
Yeah, same here. And Sam, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm Sam Johnson. I'm the Partner Success Manager at PayTrace. I've been with the organization now for just over 8 years, really focused on the payment side. I will say I'm a bit newer to the ERP space and the Dynamics community, but I've been doing a lot of learning. Mary's been a bit of my sensei as I've been getting my feet wet here, and it's been phenomenal getting to meet with partners, VARs, users over the past year.
So I think this is a great time to talk. We are coming out of a period where I know that your team has been on the road, meeting with customers, meeting with partners in the Microsoft space. And I'd really like to start by knowing a little more about what some of your experiences have been, having those conversations, hearing about maybe the challenges that customers are experiencing and what partners in the space too are looking for. I'd really leave it open to you to take on either side of that to get things started here.
Sure. So, Jason, it's interesting as PayTrace B2B payments were entering the dynamic space, sort of from a partner standpoint, I would say more so. But we've been actually learning a ton. We just recently were at Directions, of course, which is partners only focused event and primarily in the BC space. And then, of course, we sponsored Dynamics Con Live just last month in Denver. So, we're really getting to hear from a lot of clients and partners that, some of them know a lot more about us than we thought, actually. But what's really exciting to hear from partners is that their clients are really expanding into B2B payments and accepting B2B payments differently. There's a greater demand for it now as organizations grow and as they get started with new ERP systems, et cetera. But they really want kind of that single solution, because as VARs and as partners are growing their business, they're adding on new business lines. They're adding another, Dynamics ERP system, et cetera. They're adding a new vertical or whatever that might be. They don't also have the time to learn a ton more ISVs. They want to be able to take the solutions that they have and that they know and that they trust and that are good fits for their clients to all of those solutions and business lines that they support. So from the partner side, what we're really hearing is as much as you can provide from a single source, a single solution, the better that's going to be for them to be able to learn and grow and maintain and sell, et cetera. And then on the client side, we were so pleasantly surprised at several of these events where clients would come up to us and say, "Hey, we know PayTrace. We've been using you guys for years." So it's really exciting for them to see, hey, we didn't know you integrated with Business Central, and that part of the entrance of our product line is relatively new. So it's a really great sort of feeling of, welcome home kind of thing, right? Where they've been using this product for all these years, but now it works in the ERP system that they rely on to run their business. So really both sides of that equation have been really exciting conversations for us at these recent events. And of course, we look forward to others later in the year as well.
Yeah, that last point is so interesting. The world's sort of coming together to some extent, perhaps, as you describe it, where they know the technology, but maybe they haven't applied it yet. or they're still evolving the way they are bringing payment technology together with ERP. Sam, can you talk a little bit more about that? What some of the unique considerations are there when customers are thinking about bringing something like a payment solution together with a Dynamics solution?
Well, I think it lends itself to the complexity of B2B payments in general. When you look at more consumer payments, it's pretty straightforward. You've got some sort of method of accepting payment, which is going to be, a payment terminal or cash register, or, some sort of online e-commerce platform. Customer buys product service, they pay for product service, business receives payment. It's pretty cut and dry. There's a few bells and whistles that you can apply to that to make it a little bit more fun. But when you think about B2B, it really is so much more, I guess for lack of a better word, complex, because there's so many different ways that a business may want to take a payment if they're more of a supplier or a wholesaler. They might still be living in the 1900s where they're still mailing, physical mailing checks. They might want to take payments over the phone. They have that e-commerce platform, recurring scheduled billing, or as we're going to talk about in this discussion, right, having payments directly go into their ERP or their business software. It does provide a much more unique challenge in that none of these businesses are going to need the exact same solution. Everybody's going to be unique. So they need to have some sort of payments provider that's going to be able to scale with them and mold into something that is going to work for their business.
Yeah, if I could just add to that a little bit, Sam, I think there's certain industry verticals that align, very specifically within the B2B space as well, right? We see it with manufacturing, distribution, logistics, healthcare providers, back office, sort of back of the house, so to speak, food service, manufacturing, equipment, that sort of thing. Anything that, as a consumer, we walk in sort of the front door, right? The front of the house, so to speak. And so we have all those transactions that you just described. But when something gets delivered to the back of the house, there's a lot more complexity. There might be there's probably much higher ticket value, right? More complex purchasing cycle. There's a lot of different steps in that process and things that get applied from a regulatory standpoint. Maybe things are higher risk based on the value or the volume of those transactions. The B2B world has all of these different, requirements and complexities, I guess, to your point, Sam, that just make it different. And these unique industries then also might have compliance requirements that they have to meet. So it's not the same as us, walking into our favorite retailer or buying something in our favorite online store. I think the industries that align make it very unique as well, and gives just a really good opportunity for the listeners and the audience to think about how their business is different and how the segment of their business that's B2B just has different considerations, different requirements. And as they increase their purchasing power and their receiving of these different types of payments, they're going to see the value in the visibility into that cash flow in a way that maybe they don't think about in terms of the front of the house from a consumer standpoint. So the business aspect is vertical, it's higher risk, it's higher value, and the complexities just make it unique. And I think it's really important that people understand how that affects their business, but having visibility into that is so key.
Yeah, a really complex challenge just from how you've both described it there. So maybe we could talk about sort of what some of the practical solutions are. What are the technical capabilities or the functional sort of experiences that go into actually solving some of these challenges? Sam, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, and it's funny that, Mary, you brought up kind of earlier when you were talking about our customers that, we're running into a lot of businesses at these shows, a lot of these ERP users, and they're like, "Oh, we've been using PayTrace for years. We love you guys." Well, how have you been using us? You're seeing us here, and it's funny because a lot of these businesses are actually using us where they go to PayTrace.com. They're taking their payments. Maybe they're using our just standalone application. And we're really kind of entering this renaissance of ERP systems. The economy is doing really well right now, and companies are needing to adopt ERP to make themselves more operationally efficient, be able to track things better, right? Mary mentioned reducing margins of error, things like that. So when we get into this conversation about embedded payments, really what we're doing is we're taking all of this really great payment technology that we have that, might be in a standalone tool where we have a virtual terminal or recurring payments module or something like that. And we're taking that really great payments technology and we're just moving that into the business software into Microsoft Dynamics so that we're not having to manage just another business application. You know, it's funny, when I was getting logged in here, I was having to log into all of my different systems that I use on a professional basis. And we have a little portal with all these different tiles. And I think I have 24 different business applications I'm using every day. And it's like, goodness, this is so much. And when we start using ERP and these types of systems, we want to consolidate those, right? It's going to make us more efficient. It's going to reduce margin of error. And it's going to provide a better experience for both the user and the customer. And we can have all of that in one spot. So really, embedded payments in just the highest level sense is we're taking payments, we're adding that right into the Microsoft Dynamics solutions so that businesses can process all of their payments in one spot. They can manage reconciliation and all that good stuff that's involved in AR.
It's interesting to hear that story, because I imagine it sounds like what you're saying is that organizations will basically start stitching together, tools to meet their payment needs as they're kind of maybe on the fly or just ad hoc. And they're looking at some of these pain points that they then start to see as their business matures or just moves ahead. And they're really looking for something like embedded payments because it does offer advantages, right? If they've spent a lot of time stitching them together themselves, if you will, they probably know some of those advantages or the disadvantages they're currently dealing with, right?
Yeah, Jason, just to give a little bit of data point context to that, what we're seeing even in recent research is that organizations that have what we're calling, B2B embedded payments in their environment are seeing a 25% reduction in the errors and the invoice discrepancies. And the flip side of that is they're seeing a 21% reduction in the order to cash time. In other words, they're getting their money 21% faster than they used to. And they're reducing their errors by 25% as well. So you instantly see the results of having the automation and the visibility with embedded payments. And then you don't have to go to 2 or 3 or 4 other systems to be able to get that data and get that visibility.
All right. Any other advantages or other, pain points that you see customers looking to be relieved of, I guess you would say?
I was just going to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about. We work with a lot of financial professionals, and when we talk about payments, usually we work with finance. And one of the biggest challenges that they see is just delay in payments, right? It's funny, when I look at payments on the other side, on the consumer side, one of the big trends right now is buy now, pay later, BNPL. And it's like, this is what B2B payments has been for the last 4 decades.
No doubt.
There's been term policies, 30-day terms or something like that. And it's just funny that they're kind of adopting that. We see that, right, as an issue on the financial side. If we're not getting money on day 1, on day 7, when we're not getting those funds in the bank, oftentimes businesses are having to lend, right? Or take out loans.
Essentially finance. Yeah.
Right. They're having to finance all these costs that they run into as a business. And when they're having to finance, especially right now when the prime rate is so high and there's a cost of capital, that money on day 7 is worth so much more than money on day 60. So when we talk about 21% reduction in ordered cash time, that's not just accelerated cash, that's literally more financial flexibility and more peace of mind for the business.
Yeah, I'll add to that the element of scalability and efficiency, Sam. 92, again, similar recent research has indicated that 92% of organizations state that scalability is a key benefit of having their payments embedded within their ERP system. Because to your point, as organizations are growing and things are moving very quickly, you don't have the luxury of time, and you can't replicate an entire team within an organization in 10 or 14 or even 30 or 60 days, right? Those things take time. And so you need your team to be the most efficient as humanly possible. And so automation is really the key to that. And in this case, automation means having payments flow through to your ERP system, having them get to the right customer accounts, having them get to the right general ledger accounts without somebody having to do that manual data entry, which of course is part of that, errors that are being reduced by having embedded payments. So the human error risk, the time factor, the ability for a company to grow and respond to their own customer demands, which also reminds me, Sam, we hear all the time from customers, this is something maybe one of the unsung hero kind of moments not everybody thinks about, is it increases their customer loyalty. It increases their customer retention. And as an outsider looking in, you might think, well, why? How does that happen, right? But back to your consumer analogy, if we're giving our business buyers the same flexibility, the same optimal methods of payments that work for them, that are easy for them to use, then they can continue to do that, right? They're going to continue to come back and buy from us because we're making it easy for them to do business with us. Those organizations that are slower to adopt this type of technology and automation are really telling their customers, we're good with however it is right now. Hopefully we'll catch up and you'll be patient with us. And some people will, but others might not. So I think really thinking about this from a scalability, in other words, gaining more customers more quickly and retaining the ones that you have from that customer loyalty aspect of just making it easy for you to do business with, is also a really key factor that we're hearing from customers and users alike. And industry research supports all of this as well with data of many companies in our space.
We're talking a lot about embedded payments. Are there sort of fundamental qualities that you would use to define what is or is not an embedded payment?
Sam, I defer to you on the answer to that. I have some thoughts, but I'd like to hear your perspective first.
Yeah, when I think about that, I think of embedded payments as kind of two things. One is being truly embedded into a software, right? No middleware, no third party kind of applications that we're redirecting to, but this is actively working within a native software, which, there's a lot of solutions that are out there that might say they're embedded payments or integrated payments or some form. But if we're truly not within that native platform, it's not going to be doing us much benefit. And then again, on kind of that customer experience side, right? They don't want to be redirected and moved around into different spots. They want to be able to pay the way that they want to. Mary, I'd be open to your feedback as well. What are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, there were examples that I could cite from GP days for years, but when you have to log in and log out of a system to accomplish a single task, whether that's your ERP system or some other application, in order to get that task done, that's not an embedded solution. It might be connected. It might be integrated. There might be a way that you can do an export and import, get the data into your ERP system, but truly embedded is it lives in the navigation, the fields, the buttons, the data that you enter, the actions that you take within that system look and feel like they live in that system. That's what we mean when we say embedded versus, either connected or integrated or like middleware, like Sam mentioned.
So we've covered a range of sort of the capabilities and the business needs driving this, but why is this a time when, in your opinion, this is an important topic for Dynamics partners and their clients to really be digging into from a PayTrace perspective?
So Jason, I'll start with that, and then I'd love for Sam to weigh in with his thoughts as well. I think as I look on relationships that I've got with partners in the dynamic space for years, I think one of the key things that they look for is trust in a partner that they work with. They're making an investment just as we are as a provider to build a partnership. And that starts with trust. Of course, it relies on a solid product that they can depend on. But they also want to be able to influence that because the ecosystem and the solutions right now are changing very quickly and expanding and being enhanced very quickly in the dynamic space. Again, Business Central, by way of example, is being updated and upgraded literally all the time. So having somebody that you trust and that you can work with to meet that growth and meet that enhancement cycle is super important for partners to know that they can rely on solutions that are not just integrated. To the conversation that we just had, they want solutions that are embedded. They don't want to have to learn to support multiple different types of products and interfaces for their clients because they know for their clients, there are two things that are really important to them. And one is ease of use and one is depth of integration. And in this case, you can take that beyond integration to, as we just talked about, embedded solutions so that they don't have to go to multiple systems. So the ease of use thing isn't just UI specific though, right? It's the overall experience. It's the how they work with us. It's the who to go to from a partner relationship standpoint as well. So I think right now, especially as things are growing and moving very quickly, it's going to be really important for partners to have reliable and trustworthy, vendors that they can work with, and that they can be part of the enhancement cycle, right? That they can be part of that product roadmap, that contribution to the future and the vision of the organization. And that's really something that we take very seriously and believe in very strongly at PayTrace. We're a partners first organization. And I think that fits very well with the Microsoft Dynamics model. Sam, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, it's funny because when I talk to a lot of our partners, right, I'm in a very partner facing role, and I want to learn, right, what is the value that they're seeing from PayTrace? What do they like the most? And I'm always ready to hear like, oh man, you're saving our clients thousands of dollars on interchange optimization, or the integration is so seamless, which sure, hear about some of that plenty of times, but really the most common denomination that I hear from these responses is support. It's all, client support, partner support, kind of like Mary said, having a great partner. There's such a huge value to that, especially in B2B, where it's almost an expectation, and working with these, in the Dynamics partner channel, where a lot of their value proposition is providing amazing support, responsive support to their clients, right? They need to work with a partner, with an ISV that can replicate that can mimic that, and really enhance, right, their reputation in this space. And that's been really cool to see in a lot of the clients that we work with, that they love our support. Usually you hear when something's bad, you're going to hear about it. It's not as often that you hear about stuff when it's going really well. And the fact that we consistently hear about how great PayTrace support is, if we need to get a hold of somebody, pick up the phone, give us a call. We're going to answer in 20 seconds or less. It shouldn't be the exception, but it kind of is in really all spaces, not just this space. And the fact that we're able to meet those needs is really important. I think support is just oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like when you go to your favorite restaurant, you go for the meal, but you stay for the dessert. And I think with PayTrace, a lot of what we hear is, they come for the software, the solutions, the trusted provider, but they stay for the support. So it's really about not just getting the clients on board, but also how we take care of them over the years as well.
Yeah, it's such an interesting way to frame the current landscape, or the current state of where, especially Business Central, I would say, is at from a partner perspective, from a customer's perspective. It is just moving so fast, and that changes the demand and what's being asked of a firm like yours, I think, to play a successful role. So that's a really interesting perspective. And, that's the present, I guess you would say. I wanted to maybe end with getting some more information from you, some perspective perhaps on what lays ahead, right? Like what's next in your plans? What can our listeners maybe expect to be seeing and hearing from PayTrace in the near future?
Sure. I'll start with that. And, it's a really exciting time right now, because even though we have been in business for 20 years, as we've talked about here today, we are relatively new in the Business Central space. And so accounts receivable automation, accelerating that order to cash cycle that we talked about, and really completing anything that an organization using Business Central would think of as part of their B2B payments experience, right? Embedded payments, automating the invoice flow, creating easy ways for customers to get access to those invoices, really completing the cycle and having everything be very embedded and living within the Business Central environment is certainly what we would expect in the near term. And you can, learn more about all of that. We're actually releasing a white paper called Embedded Payments, a look at how B2Bs can use embedded payments to level up their cash flow. So it's really about how can we help organizations operate more efficiently and have faster access to cash, and really have the visibility that they need so that they can plan effectively for their business and their clients and their growth. So we're releasing this white paper. We've always got great content on our website and blogs to help educate people about what things mean. And then we'll be at Summit in October, of course, to really connect with partners and clients on site and, answer questions, demonstrate the product, really share the why. It's really important for us at PayTrace to help our clients and partners understand these challenges and benefits as much as they know the features and the functions of our product as well, because they're the ones that are hearing these pain points from their clients. And so we want them to know that when they hear issues with payments, when they hear issues with cash flow, when they hear issues with accounts receivable, that they can think of PayTrace and that we're going to be there to support them.
All right, great. Well, I really appreciate all those insights. Mary, Sam, thank you both so much for being here. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Mary and Sam for joining, and this message from PayTrace. For more information on embedded ERP payments and the white paper Mary referenced, subscribe to the PayTrace blog at paytrace.net/blog, and visit PayTrace's website for more helpful B2B payment resources. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.